Hi guys, and welcome to my review of this APS 3005D power supply. As you might have seen in my previous review of the LaVolta BPS 35, I really liked this power supply and I tried to order another one of these, but the seller I got this from sold out his stock and dropped it from his listings. So I was looking for alternatives and I found this power supply. It's an APS 3005D, and as you can see they look quite similar, and so I thought this might be identical to the LaVolta, and that's why I bought it. This was delivered 35 euros, this was 38, so only 3 euros in it. That was okay for me, and so I bought this one. As you might have seen in my unboxing video, this is everything that's delivered to you in the box. You got your owner's manual in English, you got a translation in French I think, you got your mains wire, you got your wires for your load, and the power supply itself. I've already read the user's manual. It is only 4 pages long, as you can see. It is also in a very small font, which is hard to read, and the English is not the best. I have seen worse, but it's definitely nothing to brag about, and it's sometimes difficult to understand crucial sentences, and this really shouldn't be the case. Ideally, a user manual should be as precise as possible. There shouldn't be any room for misinterpretation, so you know exactly what to do and how to do it. And this is not the best example of that. It leaves much to be desired, to be honest. This power supply curiously states, this machine has perfect protection function, can protect the user equipment, is not burned. I think they're saying they took care of the input protection and you don't have to worry about your load. But the LaVolta stated don't power it on or off with an attached load, and there is nothing similar to that in this manual. I'm not sure if they actually took care of this problem or didn't address this problem. So, some facts and figures on this power supply. It is also 0 to 30 volts, 0 to 5 amps, and has an operating range from 0 to 40 degrees Celsius. So if it gets hotter, you might get troubles with overheating. Other than that, there is only instructions on how to use it, how to change the fuse, and on the back there are some warning sentences, but it's difficult to understand them because the English isn't great again. They state that the power supply is not allowed in full load working state for a long time, so you're not allowed to turn it on at full power for a long time. Please use the linear power supply. Rate is controlled within 60%. The use of the switching power supply was controlled within 80%. So I think this applies for the switch mode power supply, which this isn't. It's a linear power supply. Or they may cause early failure of human. Oh. The order should be based on the actual operating current to set aside margin. I really have a hard time understanding that sentence, but I think they mean at full load you should not operate this power supply for a long time. And for full-time operation they limit the output to 60%, but they don't specify 60% of what. 60% of the voltage, of the current, of the power. It's, yeah, your guess. I think they mean that you're not supposed to operate this power supply at full load for a long time, and if it breaks because of that it's the operator error, not the manufacturer's problem. So, yeah, not that great. And 60% of 150 watts is 90 watts, I think, which isn't all that great because 90 watts at 30 volts is only 3 amps. And they don't specify the duty cycle. Normally, if you have an appliance which has a duty cycle, they specify the switch on time, and sometimes they only write let it cool down, or they specify the cool down time. But in this manual, they only specify the cool down time, not the switch on time. And in point 7, they state, for high voltage power supply, it is necessary to reiterate the importance of security in the process of using, and cut 10 minutes are not accessible high-risk area. It's difficult again to understand this sentence, but I think in combination with point 4, where they state this power supply should not run at full load for a long time. They suggest a cutoff time or cool-off time of 10 minutes. So you are not accessible high-risk areas, so you don't get into the danger zone, basically. But they don't specify the switch on time, which is, again, really stupid. If your appliance has a duty cycle, you really should specify the switch on time and then the cool down time, and specify the percentage of the power output this applies to. They specified the percentage of the power output with 60%, I suspect, but it's not written there. But they didn't specify the switch on time. That's really stupid. I'm really not impressed by that. Another point is point 6, where they state that the power is applied to the load to resistance mainly if you need to load application, or is the perceptual and capacitive should advance in the contract to explain if because of the carelessness of the load characteristics of mistaken, you should not contact the sales department to seek to make up for scheme properly. So, once again, great English, but I think they mean you have to be careful with capacitive loads. Because of the inrush current, this might overload the power supply, but yeah, you have to watch out for that anyway with every other situation, so it's okay. Now that I've been thoroughly disappointed by the user manual, I'd like to take a closer look at the mains wire. Let's see what that's like. And we have a CE sticker, but yeah, you know. All in all, the quality looks fine. You got your necessary markings on the plug. And let's take a closer look at the wire. It's an HO3VVF. And has a cross-sectional area of 0.5 square millimeters, which is enough for this application. I think you can load this wire easily with 3 amps, and that would be like 660 watts. And if you calculate a loss of 50% for this power supply, you are at 300 watts, which is like half of what this cable can take. So I think it's good enough for this application. And in all, it looks of decent quality. You can't fault it there. I once again can't pronounce the name, but all in all, it looks okay. Let's take a closer look at the load wires. They have this old style banana plugs. They have 4 springs. Let's see if they plug in. Yeah, this works. This one does as well. But they have once again screws that protrude out, and they can touch each other. So if you have 2 plugs really close together, this might cause a short. So be aware of that. Let's see what the other end looks like. We have the alligator clips. They look okay. They are a bit small. Let's take a closer look at the soldering joint. This one looks alright, although a bit overheated, but I think they also made a mistake. The wire isn't strain relieved. So this wire is supposed to be within this clamp. And let's take a look at the other one. Yeah, it's the same. So it's not a one-off, it's what they do. And this is bad, because if you solder a wire, the soldering tin makes the wire brittle. So it's very easily possible that this wire will break off at this soldering joint, at this point. If you move it a couple of times, it will easily break off. Let me show you that. And it's off. Yeah, that's why you don't do that. That's why you use strain relief. You solder the wire up front, and use a strain relief. Then they won't break off, but if you do that, they can easily break off. It's just a matter of time. It's not a matter if it will happen, it's a matter of when it will happen. So, yeah, again, a stupid mistake. Let me show you with this one. It really doesn't take that much to break it off. You just have to use this cable a few times, and there it goes. So that's a stupid mistake. So I have to repair these once again, and I already broke them off, so I can take a look at the cross-section of this wire. Let me grab my calipers and take a measurement. So I got my calipers out, and by the looks of it, this wire has a diameter of approximately 0.75 millimeters, which would give it a cross-sectional area of about 0.44 square millimeters, which is enough for this application, and the wire would be sufficient for the 5 ampere loads. But there was once again an issue with the alligator clips. They didn't attach them right either, so you have to redo them, solder them further up front, and use the strain relief. So let's take a closer look at the power supply itself. And from the beginning I didn't like the design of this power supply. It uses high contrast. It's blue and red, it's white and black. It uses 2 different high contrast elements, and this really doesn't work for me. I think it looks ugly. I think it's also difficult to read with the red against the black. And yeah, they didn't think it through. I'm really not a fan of this design. One other issue I have is that this power supply has no handle up top. It is also quite heavy. It has at least 5 kilos, but no handle, which makes it a little bit difficult to move. You have to really make sure you have a good grip on it so you don't drop it. It has a metal casing like the La Volta all the way around, but I noticed the casing also already has dents in it. As you can see, there is a dent, and it's from the inside, and on the other side there's also a dent. Let me show it to you. Yeah, you can see it here. Also from the inside. Not the greatest quality control, I guess. And it is brand new out of the box and already has 2 dents in it. So, yeah. I'm not excited. Another issue I have is I can't decipher the company name. I'm really not sure what that's supposed to mean. I think this can be an H, so H, but this also can be a Y, so HI. The next letter could be a U or a Y. Then the next letter could be a Z or an A. So I'm at the 3rd letter, and I already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different possibilities of the company name. The 4th letter looks definitely like a K, but I'm not sure if it's double K or single K. So you have another 2 different possibilities. And there's another letter. This can also be a O or possibly a D. This company name could mean 32 different names. So I've all written them down. So these are all the different names this power supply could have. And I gave up and went online, and it took me like 30 minutes to find the company name. And I found a picture of a box I'm gonna show you in the video. And the real name is this one, Huakko, with 2 Ks. So, yeah, go figure. I think this is quite a stupid design, because if you design a company name or a brand like that, you should really pay attention to the design language and the use a lot of different design elements which aren't consistent in themselves. And that's bad because you want a company logo or brand to be instantly recognizable. So if you just turn your head and get a glance at it, you instantly know what that is. You don't want it to confuse your customer and guess which one of the 32 different possibilities this actually means. Maybe it's an Asian thing, I don't know. I'm really annoyed by this, I don't know what you think about it. Leave me a comment in the comment section below. Now that I have found out that this means Huakko, continue with the review. I also noticed this hologram sticker with the company logo in it, and if you push it, you can feel that there's nothing behind it. So I think they just put this sticker over a hole there, because the Lavolta has exactly on this place a switch. So to cover this hole, they just put a sticker in there. Which is a really cheap solution to a problem, and someone had a great idea that day. But once again, it doesn't fit the design, and I know that there is a hole in there. This power supply also has rubber feet, but once again I would put something in between this rubber feet and my table because I don't want to stain them. And they look okay. There's a bit of a burr on this one. Something left over from the production, but it's good. It has rubber feet. If you look closely, once again, this power supply has no markings on its knobs. So you don't know where the min is, where the max value is, and you also don't know which way you have to turn it to change your value. They made the same mistake Lavolta did, and even if you copy something, you can use your own head and make it better. They made the same mistake. I suspect the knobs will also be quite sensitive because from full lock to full lock it is less than a turn. It'd probably be exactly the same as the Lavolta. I'd like to take a closer look at the banana posts. So they are made out of brass again, good material for this application. They look a bit different compared to the Lavolta. They're a bit smaller on the outer diameter, and I don't know if they have the same issues as the Lavolta. If you remember, the Lavolta had a really stupid thread pitch, and this one also has this metal plate to short circuit your negative output to ground. This should give you less noise, and you can remove it if you use it in a symmetrical power application, so it's a good thing it has this plate. A closer look at the banana posts, and as you can see, these threads look a lot better than the ones on the Lavolta. This is a M6 for comparison. The edges aren't quite as sharp as this screw, but they're a lot better than what the Lavolta had to offer. So this is quite decent actually. I'd like to determine the thread pitch, and once again I'm gonna rub a pencil across the threads and see. I once again measured off 5 threads. I left out the first and last one and measured the distance with my calipers, and it came out to 3.3 millimeters divided by 5 threads. That gives me a thread pitch of 0.66 millimeters. That is approximately a thread pitch of 0.65 millimeters. This is of course the same thread pitch that was on the Lavolta banana posts, and this is a nut from the Lavolta power supply. This is the original from the Huakko, and as you can see, it fits on perfectly without any issues. It's the exact same thread pitch. And I still don't know which thread pitch that is. If you have any idea what that thread is, please leave me a comment in the comment section below. As you can see, the inside of the banana post was also ringed. It looks quite clean, but the surface on the Lavolta looked a little bit better, a little bit cleaner. Want to see if there's any dirt in there and try to clean it out. And there was a little bit of dirt in there, but nothing major, so you can use it right out of the box. Yeah, here's a bigger one. There's a little bit of chip in here. Let's see this third one. Yeah. And this one there was a little bit more. As you can see, a little bit of dirt is still in there. And once again, there is a burr on the outside. I'm gonna knock that down with a drill bit. But all in all, the banana posts look a little bit better than the one on the low voltage power supply. And if you take a closer look, you notice that the banana posts aren't completely in the center of the outer rim. They're a little bit offset. This one is a little bit offset up top, this one is a little bit offset to the side, and the other one is a little bit offset to the other side. They are not completely centered, so yeah. Once again, I'm using an 8mm drill bit to deburr the banana posts. And clean them out afterwards. No burr. These are the nuts for the banana post that came with the Huakko power supply, and they look a bit rough, as you can see. There is a bit of an overmolten plastic over the brass insert. As you can see, there is a bit of a burr on this plastic coloring, and I noticed earlier it can be pulled off easily. And as you can see in there, the insert isn't straight in. It's a little bit off axis and it's a little bit eccentric, and you can feel it when you thread it back up to the post that it wobbles a bit around, which isn't great. Also, this one does come off fairly easily, and the all-in-all quality isn't as nice as on the ones on the Lavolta. For example, this is a nut from the Lavolta power supply, and it's finished a lot nicer. The coloring doesn't come off. There's no way to get it off. And all in all, the Lavolta ones are a lot better. Because of this custom thread pitch, you have to be careful with the nuts. Don't over tighten them, or you break off the threads and don't lose one of the nuts, because you won't find replacement. It's just such an uncommon thread. If you know what that is, leave me a comment in the comment section below. I now like to take a look at the other side. And as you can see, there is no mode selector switch. It only works on 220 volts. And it states there is a fuse in here, 3 amps, which is the nominal value for the mains cable they used. And let's see if there is a fuse in here. Let's pop it out. Yeah, there's a fuse in here. Yeah, it's 3 amps and 250 volts. Yeah. So they're using the right fuse for the mains wire. Let's pop that back in. Let's plug in the mains wire and power it up. Now let's power it on and try it out. As you can see, this Huakko power supply is quiet. I turned it on and it didn't get all that loud. You just hear the humming of the transformer, but nothing else. There is a fan in here, but as you can see, it isn't turning. So it probably has a thermal element or something like this to actually regulate the fan. And as you could see in the unboxing video, the voltage regulator doesn't do anything. It stays at 0 volts. And if you use the leads and short circuit the output, also the constant current mode just switches into the mode, but you can't adjust the value. So this one is kind of dead on arrival. I really didn't use it before. It was just unboxing for the unboxing video, and right out of the box it was dead. This gives me a good reason to take it apart and take a look inside, and maybe that's just a small little error which is easily fixable. That's it for the first part of this review. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. And if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to my channel. Bye, see you.